Hello everybody, and welcome into today's edition of One Nation Weather. We're talking about the potential for daily severe weather into portions of the south over the next few days, and then into the high plains. We'll also have the potential for some severe weather as we go towards the late week and the weekend. I've got information on all of that in this forecast for America. It's Monday, June 12th, 2023. Forecast for the rest of the week. And now I wanted to just recap the weekend really quickly because you can see, look at all these blue spots, those wind reports, those filtered wind reports for us here that we had on our Saturday. A lot of those occurred for you here around the Mississippi River Valley, and we also had that go closer to the Red River Valley as well with some hail reports in there as well. Not too many significant reports on our Saturday, but as we made our way into our Sunday, we saw some significant reports coming out of the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, all the way on down over here into portions of the Dallas Metroplex, where we had some of those very large hailstones coming on down in those communities for us here. And then we also saw some of the big wind reports and hail reports further east as well. So really a dynamic day and weekend overall, with that front diving on down to the south, and now that front is even further south, but it's going to stall out and produce multiple rounds of severe weather as we go through the next few days. So you can see we have the zone for you here coming out of portions of southeast Colorado. Our biggest risk zones between San Angelo and Dallas for you there at the level 2 goes all the way on over into the panhandle of Florida, and then we also have one along the east coast, a level 2 weather threat for you there for some of those gusty winds and hail in that zone. Now your hail outlook, the worst hail looks to occur in that southeast Colorado zone and then back into portions of North Texas. Not a surprise, where we have the cooler air really working into the upper levels, and where we typically see that hail, that happens in the plains. So that's why the biggest hail threat is going to be there. So let's play that out for you here. Monday, 3 p.m. Central Time, not too much going on. Some storms that could be feisty into portions of Oklahoma, but notice these cells that get going 5, 7 p.m. Central for us here. These big cells, they're going to be supercellular in shape. We could see a brief tornado out of them, but it looks like mainly hail and wind are going to be the potentials out of these. Some wind gusts could get 70 miles per hour as this progresses. Notice they kind of weaken as we go towards midnight, and then we're going to get this new area of concern coming into Arkansas for us here in Oklahoma. You can see that boundary working southeastward, and that's going to spark off some new storms into the overnight hours, and that's going to be what helps with our Tuesday threat that's going to move further south and east. Look at that big damaging wind line that looks to go there with some individual hail potential cells in there as well. Now here we go into your Tuesday. This is what the risk looks like coming out of southeast Oklahoma and northeast Texas, all the way on over in portions of the Georgia, Florida coast for there, all the way on over to that Atlantic Ocean border. So I-95 corridor near Savannah getting impacted by this for sure, as we'll have that potential for some of these storms to produce some of those damaging winds and hail as they push further east. Now again, Monday afternoon storms, some scattered storms that could produce some wind and hail. But here we go into our Tuesday. This is what I just showed you the risk for. Look at these storms diving on down to the south and east by 1 p.m. Central Time. I think the initial line might start to break up, and we'll see some of these new cells firing off again. Wind and hail getting going out of them. And then notice how we kind of get a renewed line of some cells making their way into portions of South Georgia by around 4 p.m. Central Time. Those starting to make their way off the coast as we go towards 7 Central, 8 Eastern Time for us there, with some damaging wind segments for sure depicted on the radar. And then as we go into our Wednesday, it's looking like another round of some severe weather is possible coming out of Jackson, Mississippi, all the way on over again towards the Savannah, Georgia area. And we could see some significant severe weather, some large hail above 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter. We could see that get all the way on up to baseball size. We could also see some of those hurricane force wind gusts possible. So we need to keep a very close eye on this. Also, portions of the coastal Carolinas getting in on at least a potential for some severe weather. And look at how this looks to shape up right now according to the NAM computer model. Definitely looking quite strong for you there in the southern tiers of those states. Now, here's the overall setup as we go into our Tuesday. Notice we've got some precipitation back into the mountain west, but look at how we have this low pressure system. This is the one that's been producing the cold front in the northeast, the rainfall curling back around through the Great Lakes region. This would be snow if it were winter, and you can see kind of another low-pressure system up in the northern part of the Great Lakes region and the UP of Michigan for us there. Flooding and severe possible. So yes, along with the severe potential, we do have the flooding potential in the south. Temperatures well into the 90s in portions of Texas. We've also got some 80s building in further up into the plains on your Tuesday. Wednesday, more of the severe storms and the flooding into portions of the south. And then notice how that secondary boundary of the low pressure kind of forms a small cold front. That will push through the northeast. We could see some stronger storms out of that on Wednesday. We'll keep an eye on that for you here. And then as we go Wednesday afternoon, notice more 90s surging further northward in the plains. Even in the Midwest, we've got some 80s to near 90. Chicago looks to stay on the nicer side, though, as we go into our Wednesday with the flow behind that cool front, as you can see there. But look at that. Thursday afternoon, more of the storms developing right along the south and the Gulf Coast. And we also have to keep an eye on this activity coming out of the plains as we'll have some of the heat. The temperatures above average in that zone. It will be cooler than average in the east, again, with the cold front moving through. So notice how that builds up in the plains. The high plains looking to build up with that potential for some of the severe storms there, which is why I have your Friday severe certainty to look like this: a low to medium threat of severe certainty coming out of eastern portions of the Dakotas, portions of Nebraska, Lincoln could be impacted, and then that goes over into Minnesota and Iowa. And then as we go into our Saturday, surrounding places like Chicago, places like Peoria, we've got Indianapolis being impacted by this. So keep an eye on this for our Saturday. And then as we go into Sunday, it looks like the new front could push down the East Coast with a chance of some severe certainty for your Sunday, at least at a low-end risk coming out of New York back to the Gulf Coast. Thank you so much for watching this One Nation weather forecast for America. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and here are the credits. Have a great day, everybody.